We tell each other to get over it. We tell ourselves that there's going to be another chance, another try, another shot. We are told it's okay. It's the process that matters. But deep inside, we ask ourselves, what did I do wrong? Or is there something wrong with me? The process matters, yeah, sure, but I didn't just do it for kicks. The big exam, the final game, the actual interview. What went wrong? Am I a failure? Bonjour, ami. Today on Savvying with Savvy, we'll be talking about failure. As a society, we're failing to treat failure successfully, and though it's very subtle, it's affecting us in ways that we cannot imagine. So today, I'm going to be talking about some of the key aspects of failure and our outlook on it, and how we can possibly change that. Today, we tend to view people's triumphs as their decorations, defining them, becoming more important than their actual identity. Their defeats is like a stain on a shirt. No one points it out, but everyone sees it. And whether they pity you, shame and laugh at you, or just steer away, they subconsciously start to demean you. This is inherently wrong for so many reasons. First of all, it is never right to look at someone's failures before taking into consideration all of the context leading up to it. Just like the devices we hold so dear now, we tend to think in a very binary way. Did they succeed or did they not? Society also tends to quantify people's failures and successes and rank them on a colossal leaderboard. People are held to high expectations, and if they don't meet them, well, they're pushed down the ranks, and it is hard to rise up again. That's because there's a massive amount of pressure on people to prepare for the future, whether they still be in high school or if they're sending their own kids off to college. Melanie Curtin, a writer with a master's degree in communication from Stanford University and an activist for various issues, such as millennials and authentic expression, conducted a poll of over 300 people who identified as either millennials, Gen Xers, or boomers. This survey asked participants about the pressure they feel to succeed. Surprised by the results, she writes, "It turns out millennials do feel more pressure. 67% of them said they feel extreme pressure to succeed, compared to 40% of Gen Xers and 20% of boomers. There was a marked difference in the open-ended responses of millennials too, an overall mood of anxiety and self-reproach." Curtin's findings are actually not that surprising when we step back to assess society's current state. Over the years, society has raised the expectations for young adults to have everything planned out for their future and then be able to accomplish that goal. This forces many to feel as if they're not doing enough, and everything to do is unsuccessful, or in other words, a failure. And no matter how strong their growth mindset is, or how many times they tell themselves, it's okay, frustration, anxiety, and depression grows inside of them until they're overcome by it. As the race to plan out and live a perfect life increases, so does the amount of anxiety. In fact, a recent poll conducted by the American Psychiatric Association shows that in the past decade or so, the number of people reporting symptoms indicative of major depression increased 52% among 12 to 17-year-olds and 63% among 18 to 25-year-olds. Serious psychological distress and suicide-related thoughts or actions also rose by 70% in young adults, from 7.7% to 13.1%. Both the level of anxiety among youth, as well as the number who feel depressed, show shocking growth, demonstrating the overwhelming intimidation society, especially its young members, face. And to what do we owe this not-so-fun pleasure? Cultural trends in the last 10 years may have had a larger effect on mood disorders and suicide-related outcomes among younger people. Due to the rise of social media, people tend to portray perfect and ideal lifestyles, full of success and happiness. Of course, this is not the entire story. But people do not fully understand that when they see other people's entire lives posted in front of them, and assume that they are the only ones who are living a life with the good and the bad mixed in together. Trust me, I've been through the same phase. I've been trying to qualify for the next and more advanced level competition series called American Math Competitions for the past 4 years. On average, I spent about 7 hours daily sitting at my desk and flipping through problem handbooks, looking at past tests, and totally ignoring my mother's calls to come down for dinner. You might be thinking, someone bring me that grain of salt, but it's no different than some other passion, like swimming or binge-watching 3 seasons of Criminal Minds in a row, both of which I have participated in. I worked until I could, and then some more, and then when I thought there's nothing else I can do tonight, I grabbed a cup of coffee and sat down again. Basically, I put in everything into studying for that competition. So yeah, you can say I was very disappointed in myself when I didn't do nearly as well as I had hoped and expected on the test. Did I cry? Yeah. Did I sleep? No. Did I try to reassure myself that next year I'll be even more prepared and will do even better? Yes. Did I tell myself that I learned a lot during the studying process and that was more valuable than qualify for the next exam? Yeah. Did my parents try to make me forget about it and try to move forward? Yeah. But did it work? No. So please, I urge you, it's time to change. As Kristen Neff puts it, embrace yourself and all of your imperfections. Take the time to truly understand yourself and your thoughts. Don't bog yourself down with guilt and frustration, but understand that you are a human being and are deserving of all the beauties of life, including forgiveness. In truth, it is the process that matters, and the joy and excitement associated with learning something for the first time or perfecting a skill is more rewarding than any plastic cup with a metal rectangle on it. I get that a trophy or a medal solidifies that sense of pride and success, but it shouldn't be all that matters, because it doesn't define you. Nor does that rejection letter from your dream college. Only one thing does, and that's you. Thanks for joining us today, guys, and hope to see you in the next video of Savvying with Savvy. Until then, remember to stay tuned and stay savvy.